Good afternoon, Suzhou. Hey. It's been an exciting day, and it's almost over, sadly enough. So I hope you've been enjoying it. Now, my name is Ken, and today I'd like to speak with you all about this topic, the next frontier in higher education. Now, before I do, I'd like to tell you all a story. And this is a story about a student. And let's call this student Lucy. Right? And let's also just say that Lucy is from right here in China, which, there you go, hi Lucy. Right? And let me tell you a little bit about Lucy and other students like her so you understand just how the current system of top-tier higher education in the US is not serving them well, and why we need to look to the next frontier. So, Lucy. Lucy has many of the typical attributes of a high-performing student. She's excelled and gotten top grades all through high school. She actually has been a winner of the very prominent Preston Award for her work developing educational curriculum for schoolgirls in rural China. She represents her school in public speaking competitions, debate championships, and she's a leader in feminist empowerment issues, something that's very, very close to her own heart. So, as you can imagine, Lucy and those like her, with the proper tutelage, could do immensely great things. These are people who could develop that next technology to help us effectively combat climate change, find that proverbial cure for cancer, or lead their state or their province or even their country with the empathy for and understanding of the rest of the world that's always very, very much in need on the global stage. So Lucy is looking for a world-class, global education that will challenge her. Right? And therefore, she looks to the United States, perhaps the place with the largest number of world-class universities, and there she begins to navigate the different options available. Ivy League, top liberal arts schools, great state universities. And assuming that she does so, what do you think she will find? Will she find a system that is designed to help her and those like her achieve their maximum potential? Well, upon further analysis, she may actually, or she likely find that she may not have the opportunity to experience the top-tier quality education at all, right? One of the reasons is because supply and demand at top US schools is, let's just say, out of balance. That's an understatement. Actually, demand far exceeds supply, right? Top schools nowadays admit anywhere, say, between 5 and 15% of students that apply. Yet at the same time, these schools often publicly admit that anywhere from 70 to 80% of those same students are qualified to attend the university. Right? They're just not going to let them in. Right? Top schools have added almost no capacity in the past several decades. So not enough space, and these schools are not making any additional space. What's more, Lucy, as a non-American or international, as often is said, student, is at a serious disadvantage no matter how bright and accomplished she is compared to those her American peers, right? On average, about 10% of the students at the top 30, 40, or 50 US colleges and universities are international students. Yet, this cohort, this group of international applicants, has surged in the past several decades, where the numbers of American students applying to university has pretty much stayed the same. In fact, it's beginning to drop off now, right? So that is the situation. Now, let's just assume for a moment that Lucy gets in. Okay, great. She may not be able to afford it, right? Some of you may know about the skyrocketing to the point of almost being, we say sometimes, obscene cost of US higher education nowadays. Typical Ivy League school, tuition alone per year will be about $40,000 to $50,000 US. That's just tuition. There are a lot of other additional costs and such that doesn't actually include, right? So, and in addition to that, when you think about all of the other situations, at this school, it makes for a very, very tenuous situation. Now, I'll give you another statistic which is interesting, because since 1985, the United States Consumer Price Index, inflation, right? Inflation has gone up since 1985 in the US about 115%, 115% cumulatively. However, the college tuition inflation index, right, has gone up by, does anyone want to guess? Does anyone know? Right? Almost 500%, right? So almost 5 times the cost of inflation, right? Lucy, like many others, may need a scholarship, right? But again, for argument's sake, let's say Lucy gets in, let's say she finds a way to afford it, well then certainly she can be assured of receiving the best education possible, right? Personally, as a graduate of both a top Ivy League institution and a top liberal arts college, let me tell you a little bit about what that might look like, her experience might look like at a macro level. So Lucy will take classes from a curriculum, perhaps that has remained relatively unchanged for decades, maybe. She'll study a bit of this and a bit of that, much of which will not be integrated or transferable. Some of what she actually studies, in fact, nowadays, a lot of what she actually probably studies, she could have done on her own and for far cheaper, such as by replacing a lot of those big, huge lecture courses that a lot of these traditional top schools still teach, replacing them with a series of MOOCs, right? And by the way, her experience will be anything but global. Most likely she'll be in one place for those 4 years, surrounded by folks who are local rather than global, in this case, mainly Americans, right? Now, after 4 years, Lucy will graduate, probably, right? 4 or 5 years, right? And listen, she'll probably do just fine, right? She'll probably get a job, maybe in consulting, maybe something in investment or in banking, right? And maybe she might even get an opportunity to work abroad for a couple of years before returning to China. But Lucy could and should do much better and go much farther. Right? The question is then this one. What model of higher education can best assure that Lucy and her peers can achieve their full potential? What model of higher education can ensure that the future, our future, has enough innovators, leaders, people who can come up with creative solutions to all of our problems, both present and future, and then rally people behind those solutions, right? Now, what if? What if? What if there was an institution, a university, even if we had to create it from scratch, that actually could do these things? What if? What would that institution look like? Okay, I want to share with you 5 key elements of what we believe this type of university should have. First of all, the first one is modern curriculum. And when I say modern curriculum, I mean a few things. One, I'm talking about something that is certainly intensely rigorous, but also is designed for an age where things change as quickly as they do nowadays, in our age, right? An age where, as you know, many of the students who are graduating from college this year will enter into companies, into jobs, into industries that didn't even exist when they were in primary school. How do you prepare for a world like that, right? How do you prepare, right? Well, you can do a couple of things. One is you can focus on teaching people how to think, not just what to think, right? Listen, information, content is readily available out there. There's something called the internet, right? There are even things called books, right? It's readily available. Information is readily available. But things like core capacities like thinking critically, thinking creatively, communicating effectively, these things are still very much at a premium, right? Very, very important. So imagine if we could actually instill these people, these skills in people, and these things can and should be taught, right? People will leave school with enhanced cognitive abilities that they will be able to bring to bear regardless of what they do, regardless of where they go, and regardless of how much they change what they do in their careers, right? Secondly, would be an improved classroom experience. And listen, everybody here, maybe some of you now, if you're students or teachers, has spent a lot of time in the classroom, right? We've all been in classrooms. We've all spent countless hours in classrooms. Do you think there are any ways that you could improve upon the experience that you, as a student, have in that classroom? Maybe. There are many things that can be done in this respect, too. So what about a school, a university that does some of these things? It says, listen, we're going to have 100% small seminar-style classes, right? That has very, very active and lively engagement between the professor and the students, and even amongst the students. Only 17, 18, 19 people total. Never any more than that. A little bit unprecedented. what about using the science of learning, right? An area of study that has generated decades of data about how we as human beings intrinsically learn and absorb and process information. Sounds like a good idea, I think, right? And then in addition, what about using the latest in technology to improve learning outcomes? Now, I'm not talking about technology for technology's sake. I'm not talking about it because it's cool or because it's fun, but I'm talking about leveraging technology to improve individual or even optimize individual student learning outcomes. What about that? Third element that's important is global immersion. Lucy and people like her, we believe, need to understand the world, right? We also believe to understand the world, you have to experience it firsthand, right? So why not do that, right? Through all 4 years, right? So why not, instead of one place, why not spend time in many, many different places amongst your 4 or 8 semesters? Why not a different place every year? Why not a different place every semester, right? Great places like Berlin, Germany, Hong Kong, San Francisco, right? Many places that could actually fit this bill. Great, lively world cities. And when you do that, you can just imagine the wealth of resources, location-based learning, right? Co-curricular activities, all the things that can be brought to bear to make for a much more global, very, very rigorous, but much more global experience, right? Fourth I want to talk about is lifelong career support. And this is a little bit different, right? Think about if a great university, even your universities that you used to attend, right? Great universities. Think about if the university said, listen, we're going to redefine the relationship between, Lucy or you, for example, as a student, and particularly as an alumnus, as a graduate, right, and the school. Redefine that relationship, right? And redefine that relationship to include, again, support, promotional support, placement support, not only when you're in school or right about when you're going to graduate, but through the remainder of your career, 10, 20, 30 years down the road. Imagine a university that was committed to being each individual student's and graduates, alumni's, personal public relations company, headhunter, and venture capitalist. Think about that. Compelling? And finally, let's talk about accessibility. I talked about some of the problems with accessibility before, but what about this? What about if we could do something to allow more top students like Lucy to experience what I've just described and more, right? So, what are some of the ways to do that? First of all, how about doing away with all sorts of quotas and limitations and restrictions for students based on country of origin? There is no country of origin. Everyone's the same, right? Or based on family background or social status or economic ability. Not even looking at these things. Instead, looking at merit, academic excellence, and exceptional achievement. That's one way. What about getting to the financial problem? We discussed that a bit, right? It's a bit of a big problem, right? So what about saying, listen, we're going to develop a model that is sustainable where we do not have to charge 40, 50, 60,000 US dollars per year for tuition, right? What about if we could do that for half of that? What about a third? Or how about $10,000 a year? Not 40, not 50 or 60. What does that mean? So, you hear all this. What do you think? Crazy? Fantasy? Or just wishful thinking? Impossible? No, actually. This is exactly what we have created, right? A reimagined university with a modern curriculum, improved classroom experience, 4 years of global immersion, lifelong career support, and increased accessibility for the brightest and most motivated students from all over the world. And I'll tell you another little thing as well, a little secret. Lucy is not just part of my imagination. Lucy is a real student at Minerva schools. She and 27 other incredibly accomplished students from 14 different countries around the world, including 6 other students from China, right, are currently making history with their journey, with our journey, as they've already begun their first year in San Francisco this past year. and there are more on the way. Finally, we believe this is and represents the future of higher education. And we hope, actually we know, because it's already happening, that other universities will follow suit to ensure that more students like Lucy and her peers can and do achieve their full potential. Thank you.